chat. And we will have, let's just take a couple of minutes. Here we go. So Rose is the first one in.
G'day, Rosa.
On Insta, and we've got people coming in as well on Facebook, which is awesome. Hi, guys. Do we look a bit fancy?
Look, I can wear a white shirt. I'm not going to get it dirty tonight.
Absolutely. So, two things. Obviously, we've got a super special guest in that Adrian Richardson.
Oh, have we? I wouldn't have known. Like you've been going all week. You've been that excited.
Sir Chef Adrian Richardson. And
the meat magician, I like to call him.
He does call him the meat magician. And secondly, it's our 6-month anniversary of COVID cooking classes. So for all you guys that have stuck with us, it's been 6 months. Can you believe it?
I sort of thought it might be 6 weeks tops and we'll be out of this COVID and go back to cooking in my pajamas.
I don't think any of us took it all that seriously. But anyway, now the big man's with us, the great man, the man that is Adrian Richardson. And if we are certainly ready, we'll see if he's happy to join us. And there he is.
Richo, how are you, mate?
I am fantastic, actually. Really good.
Awesome.
I'm in my little office, so it's a private little office. So it sits right above my kitchen at La Luna, and it's great to be here. Normally, I'm wide awake at this time because I run 2 restaurants, so I'm wide awake and running around. But I'm not at the moment. Everything's shut down, so it's a matter of just sitting back, relaxing with you guys.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. Can't believe that you've actually taken the time out of your evening. Hope you've got a drink. Have
you got a beer budget?
Has told me to stay hydrated at all times. So I have managed to pour a little hydration into a glass, and that's what I'll be consuming this evening.
Good man. Cheers.
It is champagne food on a beer budget after all.
There we go.
You notice you've got a picture of a plane in the background.
Look at all those people popping in. Oh, my God. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
I don't know how stuff works.
Yep.
Hello.
Richo looking good. Hey, Richo.
I hope I don't disappoint anyone. I hope I don't. So.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Look at them all saying g'day to you.
They're excited by us, mate. They're going to be certainly excited by you.
100%. Now, there's a plane in the background.
I see you got a plane in the background. I'm a bit of a push pilot.
The one there, that one there, yeah. That's I've love planes, and I know you guys do as well. So planes are a lot of fun, and I've got one on the wall there. I've got a few plane stuff. I've got a little Art Deco cigarette lighter that's a plane that sits on my desk. My kids always wonder, what's a cigarette lighter for? You didn't smoke, so it's just there in case. It's a great little piece, yeah.
That's good. So it's not actually a plane that you've been in or someone that you know, or?
No. It's a fighter plane that I really like that particular one, and it's a beauty. So it's just sitting over there. It's RAAF F-18 Hornet. So it's a very, very quick. I would like to go for a spin in one day. So if there's any RAAF people there that have access to an aeroplane that they can take me for a burn in, I would be very happy, and I would reciprocate by cooking a flash meal for the entire squadron. I would do that for a ride in one of those birds.
They do jet flights out of Echuca Aerodrome.
We can hook you up.
I'm there. I've got a passport. I'll be up there in a minute. There we go.
Excellent, mate. Excellent. I do have another quick question about the wall behind you. What's the picture with the chef with the big hat in the background?
Okay. That's my grandfather, Peter Richardson. And that photo is a photo taken from a restaurant called the Belzac, which was very, very famous in the 60s. If you're a famous politician, celebrity, whoever, you went to that restaurant. My grandfather was one of the first chefs to bring classic French cuisine to Australia. He graduated. His graduation certificate is right below it from the Savoy Hotel. He graduated at the Savoy Hotel in 1932. Went to work at Westminster College. Went to work at the Savoy Hotel. Worked with some of Escoffier's apprentices there, and then got caught up in the Second World War, and then came across to Australia as an immigrant after that, and brought French cuisine. Now that's a photo of him and Eric Morat, who was the owner of the restaurant. The two of them, they're pouring tomato sauce onto a pie.
Oh, no!
Taking the piss out of Australian culture of the day. So I believe he was one of the first chefs in Australia to serve fresh asparagus. Up until that time, asparagus came in a tin. He actually had someone grow it, and he was serving fresh asparagus with hollandaise sauce, and that's how they did in those days.
Oh,
Wow.
beautiful. Good story.
I love
too.
hollandaise and I love asparagus, so we can thank your grandfather maybe, eh?
Absolutely. Nice. So that probably leads into a question of where did he immigrate from? Because Richardson doesn't sound very Italian.
No. The Richardson side of the family is my father's side of the family. He was born in the north of England, and the family originates from Scotland, I believe. And I believe that my grandfather was the great illegitimate grandson of the Earl of Stair. So the story goes. And he travelled and became a cook and then came over here. The Italian side is my mother's side of the family.
Right.
My grandfather, they had a little pensione in the north of Italy, and he got caught up in the Second World War. He was in the North African Corps, went to northern Africa, fought there on the other side of the war. Both my grandfathers fought on either side of the war, and then met my grandmother, who was born in Cairo, of Italian descent. Her father was a Sicilian marble maker, and when they found Tutankhamun's tomb, they brought him over from Sicily. My grandmother was born in Cairo, and my grandfather, when he escaped from the British, because he was captured, met my grandmother. They got married in Egypt, went to Ethiopia, where my mother and my uncle were born, and then they came to Melbourne. Now, the place I'm in at the moment is in North Carlton, which is about 500 metres from where my mother grew up in North Carlton, and about 900 metres from where my father grew up in North Carlton. So this spot here is this is where my family's always been.
That is amazing. What a great story.
What a story. That's incredible.
And when you look at me, I mean, my grandfather has his French, he's a French chef, and they're classically trained. Amazing. The whole family. If his wife, my grandmother, she's still alive. She's 100 at the moment. And she's the amazing cooks, but they're all vegetarians. The whole side of the family, amazing cooks. And then my mother's side is the Italian side, but I grew up eating that North African, Middle Eastern, Italian food, and the Northern Italian food. So I've had all this different type of food and this amazing experience. And look at me. I look like a blue-blooded white Aussie boy, ham sandwich and a milkshake climbing out of the surf. That's not how I am. I really feel more European than anything. I'm actually first generation. And, when you see me making pasta, you think that guy's Italian. Often when I speak, or I get a lot of old Italian women coming up to me, Adriano, your mum is Italian. Because they can see how I work. It's very, very Italian. Yeah.
Yeah, you go, got to be English, love. Can't understand a word you're saying. We had that when you were the one. Yeah, we were at the.
I found Greek Cypriots would just assume that I could speak. What do they speak? Because it's not.
Yeah, they're Greek.
Greek Cypriosis. There we go.
Yeah. We got asked to cook last year at the Greek Cypriot yearly festival, cheese festival, and
halloumi festival.
Yeah, the halloumi festival, and they were onto Mick straight away. They thought that he was a Cypriot background, which so they're yabbering away, and he's like,
well, I'm thinking the Greeks and the Cypriots getting onto Mick straight away. I reckon it might not have been the Greek stuff. It might have been a very handsome young man, they're after. But I'll digress. The halloumi cheese, I call it squeaky cheese.
Yeah.
Look at me eat it. It's got this little squeaky thing, so it's a great cheese to cook with. I love it. In fact, I made pizzas the other day. We didn't have any other cheese, but halloumi, it works great as a replacement for mozzarella as well.
Really?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I got away with it, yeah.
Love it. Well, you're a chef. That's the stuff that you do, isn't it? At the end of the
day. It is one of the harder cheeses, but the Greek Cypriots, they made it on the day at the festival we went to. And to eat it straight off is a whole new world too.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah, they're incredible.
And very friendly people and very attractive women too.
Oh, holy moly.
They hold their age
really
well.
Are. They
halloumi
really
cheese,
are.
It must be the new youth fountain, I think.
Oh,
that or what your grand's on. So
100.
Yeah, for sure. So all that background that you gave us, Sindra Hilda gave us a question. She said, "Hi, chef. What gave you the passion to cook? how old were you when you realised it would become your career?
Okay, very good question. I've always been around great food. You know, I've always been around, my grandparents are always great cooks. My uncles and aunties were chefs. I've always been around this amazing food, gardens in the backyard. So for me, it was just normal to have great food. And it wasn't until I started going to, you know, a couple of Aussie mates, and I'd go back to their houses to eat, and things are a bit different there. You know, I remember my mate having some lettuce, and he was sprinkling sugar on it. His mum let him sprinkle sugar on the lettuce to get him to eat it. That would never happen, you know. And I was sort of like, so I was just trying to understand that. So I knew I was sort of around good food, and I really appreciated it. I used to work in a cafe. I lied about my age at Rosebud. We used to go down to the beach. I lied about my age to get a job in a cafe, and I was making ice cream there, and you know, and helping the pastry chef, and I really loved that. It gave me the money to buy motorbikes. So I started working in cafes every Christmas when I went away. But then the thing that got me really into a commercial kitchen was I was 16. I was going to a private school. My parents had put me up a year, so I was always struggling at school. And I just sort of got to a point where I was sitting in the office with my parents and the headmaster and the coordinator, and it was decided then that my services were no longer required at the school. So I left.
Is that year 10? Is that year 10, 16?
That was the beginning of year 11. So,
same as me.
Yeah, so I dropped out of school. I was 16 at the time, and my dad said, you know, you're not an idiot, go and do something. So I went and got my pilot's license, my student pilot's license, and, you know, started flying around and doing my solo at 16. And I was on my way to my restricted license, and then Dad sat me down and said, you got to start paying for it. So I got a job in the kitchen to start doing that. And then I re-enrolled back into school. But, you know, the job, I'd work Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, and then go to school all week, because I re-enrolled myself back into a local high school, because everyone said, you're on your own, mate, do what you want. So I ended up doing really well at school, repeated the year, which is the year I was supposed to be in, did really well, worked on the weekends, and the flying lessons sort of fell by the wayside, but the cooking in the kitchen continued. And then when I was just about to do my VCE exams, the guy I was working for, Frank, a lovely guy, still keep in touch with him, said, what are you going to do, Adrian? Because they called me Adrian then and not Richo. What are you going to do? I said, I'll start an apprenticeship. And that horrified everyone, my family, my teachers, my friends, because in those days, which wasn't that long ago, but in those days, being a chef wasn't what it is today. You weren't on TV, you weren't celebrities writing books, there was none of that stuff. You were just working in grotty kitchens. But I love kitchens. I was very lucky to have found kitchens and found that environment, and being able to work with food has done amazing. I've traveled the world. I've done incredible things, met incredible people, and it's allowed me to do that. I'm so lucky when I talk to people that, you know, I found my vocation, I found my career, I found my life very early on, and I was just able to enjoy my entire life of it.
Yeah, brilliant.
That is super lucky. That is a really good segue to another question. We've got a follower, Susie and Al. They join us every week from Canada, from Niagara Falls. Bless them. It's 6:30 in the morning when we go live, but they're always with us.
So we're having a beer and getting ready for bed, and they're getting up for breakfast.
Having their Vitabrits. And Susie's got a question for you. She said, I've read an article in Lifestyle, quote, Richardson spent time training at the Victoria Art Centre, the Regent Hotel under Dietmar Sawyer, Liam Tomlin and Russell Armstrong, O'Connell's Hotel with Greg Malouf, in the UK with Anthony Worrell Thompson, and in Canada. And that's where the article stopped. So she was quite disappointed that she didn't get to find out what you did in Canada.
I worked at a restaurant called Rain City Grill in Canada, and I found that amazing. I'd come out of doing my apprenticeship, working at the Art Centre, which is an amazing place. Then I worked at the Regent Hotel with Liam, Russell, and a couple other guys. And they were nutcases. The Regent Hotel, that was the carousel of hurt. You can get on, but you can't get off, and it just went around and around. It was one of these, I reckon it would make Gordon Ramsay cry. It was just incredibly hard bastards to work for. And then from there, I went on to Canada. And Canada's, I loved it because they do a different sort of, they go to school for, I think, 9 or 12 months. Then they go out into kitchens and work. So a lot of the rules and the type of training, which is the Westminster type of training we do in kitchens, City and Guilds, I think they call it. A lot of that stuff they sort of cover, but once they get it, it's like, hey, let's try anything. And it was at the time of this Pacific Rim cuisine where it was, let's try anything, let's try this and that, and throw it on the grill. And they had amazing fish there. So I was a bit uptight at the start, but after a couple of months of working in Canada, in Vancouver, I fell in love with the place. And it was just anything goes, amazing produce. And the guys were so fun, so much fun to work with. They didn't have that screaming and yelling, that sort of English type of, that bastardry that you get. I mean, I don't mind. I can put up with it. It doesn't worry me, that sort of stuff. But in those, I'd had enough of it. But they were so fun to work with and such great people. And, it was such a beautiful place, Vancouver, to live. I lived there for a year. I tell you what, if it wasn't for an Aussie girl that grabbed me and took me away, I would still live in Canada and probably Vancouver, BC. It is a beautiful place. And any Australians who have the opportunity to go to Canada, please go. It's not America, it's Canada, and it is a beautiful place to go and see. And the people are amazing.
And see, that's what I would say as well. Canadian people are just beautiful, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And go Canucks. They'll know what I mean.
Righto. So Susie and Elle, you've heard it from Richo.
And we might have to come and stay with Susie and Elle. Sounds like we want to get over there.
Definitely.
And that side, the Toronto side, there's you got to say Toronto. You got to say it real fast. That side, that gets really cold and snowy. And the wintertime, the way they can just turn it over and they live in this arid, this extremely cold environment. Incredible people, and just hardy and warming, and they love their beer, and they're almost Australian. Just a little bit, just a little bit more, and they would be Australian.
I feel that too. And look, only seeing them on TV and stuff, haven't really met them apart from these guys through social media. But I feel that they're so close to Aussie as well.
I've travelled quite a bit overseas, and the whole time travelling, found that it's amazing how much we got along well with Canadians and compared to Americans.
Yep. And as soon as you hear that accent, you learn straight away are you Canadian or American? You never say, are you American? You always ask if are you from North America? And if that's the case, are you from Canada? But if you listen, if you've lived there for a while, you can pick up the twang and some of the things they say, and you pick up straight away. They hate being called Canadian. It's like being called like a Tasmanian, the New Zealander, being called a Kiwi. We hate being called Kiwis.
Yes.
Kiwis take it as a badge of honour to be called.
Whenever you're in France and they say English, you say no, Australian. Yeah, don't say English.
Australian, mate. Yeah.
Australian, mate. There's no don't mind you.
Australia. All right, so hitting another couple of questions because there's been lots of really good questions sent in for you, Richo. We've got Matthew, and we don't know. Matthew's a really massive fan of ours, and
He's
I'm going to go.
He's a great little cook too.
He
great
is.
Cook.
Le Tonnois, I'm going to go with. It sounds super fancy, but hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. So Matty's question, he says, my question for the talented chef is, on Good Chef, Bad Chef, you being the bad chef, did you enjoy any particular dish from the good chefs that you actually went home and cooked for yourself, your family and friends?
Okay, well, there's a lot of stuff I picked up along the way, and I'd say a lot of nutrition I picked up because a lot of stuff, you sort of know it when you're cooking, but you pick up a lot of other things. There's some, I'll say it, some tempeh. I don't mind cooking with tempeh, and when you cook, tempeh is like a fermented soybean. It's sort of like the crunchy nut version of tofu. And I know I'll say I do eat a little bit of it. I've cooked that before for my kids. When I've made noodles and put tempeh with it, and they love it. They thought it was chicken. So, I sort of satay sauce with it, and they ate it. So sometimes I do. Although I'll be honest, often when we've been filming all day, you've eaten a lot of food because you cooked. We've made probably 9 segments, so you've had at least 2 or 3 bites of 9 different things through the day. You're eating stuff you wouldn't normally eat. And by the end of it, I'm driving home at 6 o'clock at night. I don't feel like eating a single thing. And I'm happy to have a glass of water and a glass of wine and finish my day. And usually by the end of the day, I've got no love left at all. But it's amazing when you are cooking so much every day and so many different things, because when we're cooking a Good Chef, Bad Chef, I'll cook 100 different things in a matter of a month. So you get to cook a lot of stuff that you don't know. So often you'll research stuff at the start of the day and look, I haven't cooked that for a long time, and you'll research it and put a little twist on it. So you're constantly learning and constantly doing different things. And I really, really enjoy it. I mean, my stuff is always the stuff I love cooking. And, I really enjoy all the things I get to cook, because being the bad chef, I get to cook what I want. It's hard for her. Like Rosie, she has to, if we come up with an ingredient like eggplant, we'll put some bacon with it, we'll throw some cream on top, put some butter in it, put some pasta in it. It'll be a beautiful dish. Whereas she has to think of all the people that can't eat gluten, dairy intolerant, they can't have onions or garlic. And so she has to come up with a dish that sort of, doesn't have all of those things in it. So for her, I think it's really hard. And sometimes, Rosie and I will work together with some of these dishes, and she's scratching her head. It's like, I've got to make this tasty, so put some, I can't say put some bacon with it, but we do work together with some of the dishes to try and fluff them up a little bit, so they're a little bit more challenging for everyone at home and delicious. But she's great to work with. I will say Rosie is fantastic to work with. I love working with her. She's a lot of fun. All three of them have been great to work with. All three of my co-hosts, they've been great to work with. Even though people think that we hate each other and we're fighting all the time, they're darlings. All of them. They're all darlings, and we get on really, really well. And as soon as the cameras go off, except for Rosie, who's a vegetarian, the others are straight into my stuff. They love my cooking.
That's crazy. See, Rosie's my favourite out of the three by a long, long way.
Okay. Yeah. She's a darling. I believe she's in the UK at the moment. We start filming in a couple of weeks. So she's on her way. She's got to come back over to Melbourne and then isolate for a while and then get going. So I can't imagine it's going to be a nice – it's all right for me. I live in Melbourne, but for her it's probably a bit lonely. So I really feel for the sacrifice she goes through to do the show. It's considerable.
Yeah, for sure. She's just gorgeous, though, isn't she? And so much fun. She puts her little videos up about her nephew, and she's obviously the best aunt going round. So
she's and you probably don't see this. They put some bloopers on social media last year, but there is so much laughing. And my job sometimes, I'm believe it or not, I'm a bit of a comedian sometimes. My job is to make the crew and her laugh. And if I can get her pissing herself laughing so she mucks up her lines and can't talk for a while and everyone's laughing, that generally means that sort of feeling is coming through to the people watching at home. And that's really important. That sort of, it's fun. It's just cooking, it's not that serious.
Yeah.
Things in the pot and stirring it around, and that's delicious. That's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to save the world or anything. We're just trying to make a few minutes of your life a bit more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Sure. And make cooking look fun and be fun to have and do. And Jodie and I enjoy doing it together. We have a laugh together.
It's easy to make cooking look, easy and fun when you've been doing it for 35 years.
Ooh. Ouch, that hurts, doesn't it?
I still stress about cooking. Jodie-Anne's very relaxed about it.
I watch a lot of people on TV, and it's sort of, I mean, doing it for that long and doing it professionally, you really notice the difference with watching a professional chef doing cooking stuff and how they use their knives and equipment. However, it's inspiring for me to see people that haven't got that experience, haven't got that technique, that are just sort of winging it a little bit. And you can see, they're just sort of making a few things up and they're having fun with it. To me, that's just like, wow, that's great. And as a chef, you'd say, oh, no, you can't do it that way. The rules say that you can't put that in there. And then you watch people do it and it's like, that came out all right. What's wrong with breaking a few rules,
We got into trouble for doing exactly that, breaking a couple of rules. Got told that we weren't. I don't know what country I'm in. It's like, well, you're in Australia, mate. We're multicultural. I won't say who, but, he had a problem with, mixing cultures together in food. And we're like, well, that's what Australia does.
I didn't know whether I was in Japan or Thailand, I think.
I can't remember which countries he was worried about, but yeah. You're sort of like, well, who made the rules up?
Yeah. Exactly. And give it a go. Give it a go. And that's where this Pacific Rim cuisine comes in. You got stuff from South America, North America, from Japan, all around Asia, Philippines. It all just melds together. If you've got great ingredients, as long as you don't try and overdo things, there's some amazing chefs putting lots of things together. And, that's how, there's a lot of train smashers till you get till you get something that's great. So, I just think give it a go. It's just, if you're going to have a train smash, though, it's just not with my money, though.
You
not what you cook for me.
Yeah, true.
So with what you were saying there, like being a professional chef, and you've got your kitchen downstairs where you've got, the top of the range, you've got your combi ovens and your hot plates sitting there and ready to go. How do you find the transition when suddenly you're cooking in front of the camera and you've got to change that recipe to pretty much be prepared to nearly cook on an induction cooker or one cooker or something like that?
I'm pretty good. I'm a little bit I'm a little bit crazy about cooking on TV and the preparation I do. I go to great lengths of checking everything and making sure everything is in place and in order. If you ever watch, we call it the deck. If you're ever watching Good Chef, Bad Chef, and you're watching me do something, or even if you're watching me on, Channel 10, the circle, that sort of thing, everything is in order and everything is bang on. And I am meticulous about that. I'll get there an hour, 2 hours earlier just to have everything set up exactly the way I want. And then I go through it once, twice, and then off I go. I never ask anything. I never wing it. I'm never, ever do I do that. Everything has to be meticulous when I'm doing it. And often I will change recipes as I'm setting up, because often when you've got a recipe, and this is the thing, this is where you need to sort of think a little bit, especially when you're on TV. You've got a recipe, yeah, that's a great recipe. I've done it before. But when you're doing it on TV, it might be a recipe that's enough for 4 or 6 people. But on TV, if you try and cook for 4 and 6 people, it's clumsy and it's cluttered. So often I'll bring recipes down to 2 people. So just to facilitate it, moving very slowly and very smoothly. And often when you're doing recipes that there's a lot of steps to it, I'll do a lot of back work with Colin, who's a food producer I've been working with for 10 years. We will often, try and take a couple of steps out and simplify a recipe so that the punter at home can look at that recipe and watch me doing it. It's like, oh, that's easy. Oh, we can do that. Yeah, but it's been 3 hours of work getting it to that stage. That's my job, is to sort of take out all that technical stuff. I mean, you can do that. Like, you can do that if you want, but to take it out and let you think that it's really easy to do. And when you do the recipe, it's like, oh, well, I can do that. And if you can get, or people at home can cook more, that's my job. My job is, I'm a tradesman. I'm a tradesman in the trade of cookery. My job is to pass on my skills. Whether you're an apprentice in my kitchen, being flogged and punished and beaten and kicked and whatever. Well, I don't do that. I'm just kidding. But, whether you're a junior in my kitchen or whether you're sitting at home watching a TV show, if you can learn something, well, then that's my job. That's what I'm here to do.
Tick. Yeah. And that's what we're hoping with Champagne Food on a Beer Budget when we get to TV as well, because Mick and I are run-of-the-mill and we are the normal.
You, darling, you're fabulous. He's run-of-the-mill, you're not.
Thank you so much.
Well,
but we're normal. I think we're relatable, that people would look at us and go, shit, if they can do that, I can do that. You know what I mean? We're exactly the same. We just want people to give it a go rather than takeaway, or Friday night go, oh, what's in the fridge? Well, you can actually make something. If you've got 5 ingredients in your fridge or something in the pantry, you can make something. Believe me, we live half an hour from a supermarket and we shop once every 3 weeks. So when we run out, and you just make stuff up.
Yeah, I agree. It's amazing when you open the pantry, and I'll do this myself. I'll open the pantry. Oh, there's nothing here. If you saw my pantry, it is jam-packed with everything. Everything you can imagine is in my pantry. And there's nothing to eat. But I did a show, Ready, Steady, Cook, for 3 years. This is a while ago. And it's amazing when you get a couple of those, when you get a couple of ingredients and you have to scratch and think, you've got to cook something with it. You put your mind to it and you can come up with some cracking dishes. Not all the time, but you can put together some nutritious, interesting dishes with just a few ingredients. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I did Ready Steady Cook in 2009, and I had Adam Swanson as my chef. I'm 5'3" and he's about 6'12".
Yeah,
I know what he was.
I know him very well. He's a lovely bloke. He's cheeky, so cheeky. But he's a lovely guy to work with. I've known him for years. He's been doing Good Chef, Bad Chef, and we've caught up together. He was running a couple of kitchens in Sydney, and I was doing a lot of work in Sydney, so we'd catch up there. And I felt I woke up many mornings thinking, what happened last night? You know, I just sore head, Panadol. Just he's a dangerous man to be around. I'll warn you about that.
You got Swansoned.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I've kept in touch with Adam as well. So when we were on MKR, I shot him a message and said, "You're not going to believe what we've got on MKR." And he was, full of good luck and good wishes and what have you. But I said on on Ready Steady Cook back 11 years ago, Pete Everett said, "So what's your food dream?" And mine was a TV show called Champagne Food on a Beer Budget. So we're still in touch with Pete Everett.
We had a big long chat with Pete Everett. Yeah, he's a good chatter. He loves a chat.
Yeah.
He's a lovely bloke. I really enjoyed the show with him. He's cheeky and he sort of plays around with him, but you just sit him down and have a good conversation. He's knowledgeable. He's intelligent. He's really genuine and gentle. He's a really nice guy. I enjoyed my time with him. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Colin Lane, but it went down the hill for mine once Cole took over. But yeah, you were going to say something, I think.
Oh, we're just saying the irony that Jodie-Anne had actually requested Manu on the show as her chef, and Manu had left to chase his own new TV show that he was doing, which turned out to be My Kitchen Rules. And then exactly 10 years later, Jodie-Anne got on My Kitchen Rules, and before she knew it, she was sitting next to Manu, which...
The very first episode, I was sat right beside him.
I could have been not in that episode.
I'll tell you something about Manu. Manu I've known for 20-something years. He took my job when I opened up this restaurant. He took the position I had at a seafood restaurant, which is around the corner. And we've known each other for 20-something years. But Manu he's not French at all. He was actually born in Geelong. He worked out a long time ago that if he put on that French accent, he'd be great at picking up the girls. So that's all a put on. It's all a show. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but
you're
the one who starts that rumour.
Father was a pig farmer or something, but he's born and bred there. Went to Geelong Secondary College there.
FOS, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. FOS. Legend. I love his story about...
That'll end up in TV Week, that. You know.
Yeah, it will. I love his story about trying to be kind of clown school for 3 years and didn't cut it as a clown. So Mum said, "You know what? You're going to have to go and get a job, mate." And he said...
He makes a bloody good clown. He is.
He's the best entertainer.
He's a great entertainer. He'll pick anything up and have a go, juggling and playing a flute or trying a different instrument.
I'll tell you a story. We were, this is probably, 12, 15 years ago, before MKR and before Good Chef, before all this sort of stuff, Boys Weekend and all those things. We used to, catch up in Sydney because he lived in Sydney, and we would do Good Chef, Ready Steady Cook together, and we'd go out. No one knew who we were. And we'd be in a club or a bar or something, and music would come on, and he would start dancing, and he would just walk up, grab a girl, and dance. He was a great dancer then, and and he could just about pull any girl up, and he'd do a couple of dances, and because he was so smooth, he'd have them lining up. And and it was just for the dancing, because how many guys can have got the balls to start dancing in a nightclub, in a bar, and to be a gentleman about it. So he was cutting the rug a long time before he got onto Dancing with the Stars, and he was always very, very good at it. He's always been a charming man. He's a funny guy like that. But he is a clown.
Funny, he's a charmer. There's no doubt about that.
He's always trying to do something funny or play a practical joke or. Do something. So he's a lovely guy, gentleman.
Would have been the class clown at school for sure.
He still is.
Yeah. So we'll better move on to another question, Richo. So John Atherton, John Atherton's one of our big fans, and he's our meat man. If we're cooking something that doesn't have meat, he's not happy. Quite often he'll say, "I'm going to watch the football."
This looks vegetarian. I'm going to watch the footy.
Is John looking behind me? That picture there?
He'd be in love with that.
That's my meat hanging in the cool room. That's my cool room downstairs. So I have about 2,000 kilos of meat hanging on the bone down there. We dry age it for 8 weeks on the bone, then we break it down. We go through, that's an RG, it's about 40 kilos a piece. We go through about 8 to 10 of them a week. So tell John he's in very safe hands.
Oh, absolutely. He loves you.
Yeah.
So
ours are still walking around in the paddock. They don't look like that yet.
We sent you that photo, remember, when they were looking at the fire.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That's right.
So John says, saw you at Crown for the Food and Wine Festival a few years ago. My question is, what is the way to cook a thick steak, either barbecue, oven or grill, so that you don't burn the outside while keeping the inside juicy?
Okay, all of the above. And it requires temperature, heat, or fire management is what I call. So basically, you season, you've bought good beef, hopefully, from great producers who lovingly look after their animals and rear them properly and then send them off to be dispatched. And then you've gone to a butcher and bought, paid top quality for top quality meat, seasoned it properly, let it come up to room temperature. And then whether it's a pan, a barbecue, an oven, the trick is to seal the outside of it. And by sealing it, plenty of oil, salt and pepper, sear the outside of it so you get that golden crust on it. And then it's a matter of cooking it through. So whether you take it with the pan and put it into the oven, or put it on a rack in the oven, or, turn the outside bars off, so it cooks nice and slowly, or close the lid on the barbecue, whatever you do to cook it all the way through. Because if it's a really thick slab of meat, you want to roast it, or you want to cook the outside of it slowly so the temperature has time to work its way through into the center of the meat. Now, that's you can do it any way you want, and that's what I find allows it to cook nice and evenly. One of the most important things, if you are asking that sort of question and you want to know a little bit more about cooking the meat, is buy yourself a digital thermometer. I have many of them, and that gives you X-ray vision. It's your superpower to cooking a great steak. And I'll say it again, a digital thermometer is your superpower. You must have one of them, because that gives you X-ray vision. It tells you what's going on inside the meat. And if you know the temperature on the inside, you know how it's cooked. We know that, 42 degrees is going to be medium rare. So when it gets to, just under 42, you take it out from where it's cooking, you let it rest for at least half the cooking time, and then hoe into it. So there's sort of the basic tips to cooking meat. And it covers pans, grills, barbecues, ovens, all of those things. It's searing it, giving it the right sort of environment to cook all the way through, whether it's a sort of medium heat, medium to high heat, you need to keep an eye on it then, or medium to low heat is not a bad thing either, but controlling it and using a digital thermometer so you understand it. My guys that are working on the grills have digital thermometers they've got little pockets on their chef's jacket. Yeah. They have the thermometers there. They've got them, all around them, and they're constantly checking things. It's a constant thing when steaks are going up here in the restaurant. Some of them go through the oven if they're big 1 kilo T-bones, or if it's a little filet mignon wrapped in bacon, which might be 250 grams. We'll, as stuff's going out, they don't talk in cuisons, which is medium rare. They talk in temperatures. So they'll say that's what we do. So
54 is my magic number.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 54 is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you do whatever you want with it. And the other thing with the digital thermometer, if you're using cooking white meat, chicken and pork, 72 is the magic number for all white meat. Anything above that, it starts to dry out. Anything below that, and it can be slightly pink. So if you aim for 68 to 72, you're going to get it bang on every time. And it's not rocket surgery. It's not that hard to do. But once you know those numbers, you can cook anything, anywhere, anytime. Give me a cigarette lighter and a bit of aluminium foil, and I'll be able to cook you a big slab of steak, and it will be perfect.
Well, I see even these days you can get the digital thermometers that you put in the meat, leave them in the meat in the oven, and they talk to your phone.
Yeah, exactly. While you're
go and have a beer and wait for it to beep.
Yeah, well, I'm the sort of like, I put it in the oven, and 3 beers later I know it's going to be ready. So I'm a fast drinker.
I love it. Good segue there, though, because talking about temperatures and everything. Question from Graham Wilson. What are your thoughts on sous vide for protein if you're not cooking for a crowd?
This is what I'm too.
Okay, well, sous vide's a very interesting method of cooking, and I first came across it about 28, 29 years ago when I was just an apprentice. A chef that I was working for, David Payne, went over to France to learn a bit about it, and so I've sort of kept in touch with it. It's a method of cooking really, really low and slow, where you're using water at a low temperature to cook your meat. Basically, the sous vide method, if you can imagine, meat fibers are like rope. When you cook them really low and slow, you unwind that rope so it becomes even more tender. Cooking sous vide, we do it a lot here in at the kitchen of La Luna Bistro and Bouvier Bar. We cook a lot of stuff overnight, lamb shoulders, We'll probably do 5 or 6 4/4 of lamb cut into 1.2 kilo pieces, and we'll sous vide it overnight at 86 degrees or 82, 78, whatever magic number we're using. But we use it a lot for cooking in volume. It's also great for cooking in small amounts, but it's all about getting the magic numbers right and the time right. Once you start cooking stuff for 50, 60 hours, what a waste of time. I would have eaten it by now, I know that there's a lot of chefs doing that, and for small numbers, it's great for experimenting. It's great for having fun, and great for learning about protein and how to cook it and how to get the best out of it. There's some amazing things you can do. It's worthwhile trying and experimenting. We use it a lot for a lot of the food that we do, especially in bulk cooking, because it's sort of like, I'll give you ox cheek for an example. I know that ox cheek, if I cook it at 170 degrees Celsius, I can get it to be nice and tender in 2 hours or so. Or I can cook it really, really slowly overnight at 82 degrees Celsius. And I know it's bang on. The whole lot of it is going to be bang on. It's just a better way of controlling it, I think, for larger numbers. But I've got big Rational ovens and I've got all the toys to play with. But it's a great way of cooking. And for me, sometimes it can be used for good when you're cooking in bulk and you're cooking proteins and ox cheeks and tough cuts. For me, it can be used for evil as well. When we take a piece of kingfish, we might sear a bit, we sous vide it for an hour, then we take it out again, put it back in the pan, sear it again, then we put some butter on it and crisp it up. It's like a lot of mucking around here. Just So I mean, there's a lot of wanking and a lot of stuff going on with that one. But if you keep it simple and use it as a form of cookery to teach you about proteins, it's fantastic.
That's a really good explanation. Like, I played with sous vide because Jodie-Anne's very good at throwing a bit of meat in the pan with good seasoning, good oil, and it comes up beautiful. She can tell by a touch, that it's ready, which is brilliant. But I sort of want to understand the method more. And your explanation of the way the fibres react, I actually got a steak, cut it in half. Jodie-Anne cooked one half in the pan. I cooked the other half for nearly 2 hours in the sous vide. And to look at the fibres, you'd swear it was two different bits of meat. And they were both great in their own way. But, yeah, it is a good little learning curve, but an interesting way to cook, something fun to play with.
I would tend to use sous vide more for tougher cuts, for secondary cuts, neck, shoulder chuck, all those sorts of things, because they really, really benefit from sous vide. A steak, yeah, I mean, you can play around with it. You can sous vide it for 2-3 hours in a bag and then sear it, reverse sear it. You can do that sort of stuff. And that's great as well. But I think when you're using those cheaper secondary cuts, that's when you get the real benefit of sous vide cooking.
Yeah,
awesome.
Because as you said, that it's all about the temperature, and you can slow cook and never overcook it, because that water bath's never going to get to a temperature that's going to burn your meat.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
It's also, that's where the bulk cooking comes in. If you're cooking for 500 people and you're cooking it at that low temperature, that way a chef knows that every single piece is cooked to perfection. It's not overcooked and it's not undercooked, and that's the way we do it in commercial kitchens.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did mention.
Would you like a top up? You've got one.
I'm right, thank you. You did mention ox cheek, which I know a lot of people may go, ugh, ox cheek, or people have an issue sometimes with offal. I'm not one of those people, and I know that you're not one of those people. But Shane Howe has asked a question: offal or steak? What inspires you more?
Look, a steak is great. It's good fun to cook. I love a good steak. I've made my reputation on cooking steak. That's what I do. But I tell you what, it's all the bits of guts that are left behind on the slaughter room floor that can really show a chef's skill. I've been cooking offal for a long time. I've run offal dinners where we've got 14, 15 courses of blood and guts and everything in between. I do a lot of offal, and I am inspired by offal because a steak, yeah, everyone's going to eat a steak. It's great. We love a steak, but to get you over the line with pig's sphincter or prairie oysters or ox tongue or blood sausages, pig's uterus, all that sort of stuff, to get you over the line with that stuff, and where you eat it and you say, hey, you know what? not really my thing, but I get it. That was interesting to me. That's more important. And I'll go back to my grandmother, my 100-year-old grandmother. I wrote a book a while ago, probably 12 years ago, called Meat. It's still in print. You can buy it anywhere. This is not a plug for the book, but she'd been a vegetarian for probably 75 years. Strict vegetarian. It's lovely, great cook. But when I sent her a copy of the book, Grandma, here's my first cookery book. And she rang me to say, Adrian, I am so happy you put a section in your book on offal. She said, offal is really important because it's part of the animal. If you're going to kill an animal, we should eat every part of it. And she said during the Second World War, she said we had nothing else to eat. So if you didn't eat offal, you didn't get a lot of protein. There wasn't tofu in those days. So she said we had to eat a lot of it, and we learnt to enjoy it, because that's what we ate. But she said it was really important. If you kill an animal, it's good to see you using every single part of it. So, there's your answer on offal. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with you. I'd like to do more of it. My butcher, when I go in and ask him for certain bits and pieces, he'll sort of say, really, what are you doing with it? He gets a bit spun out the things that I ask for, but he always looks after me. So I think I'll
just stop you there on offal again. I will continue. The guy who's above me there, my grandfather, who's a chef there, he was in the Black Watch, which is a Scottish regiment, and he spent a little bit of time as a cook. He remembers. He's telling me that they would have the Robbie Burns night, and the entire brigade would sit down. They would have haggis, and out would come the haggis on big platters. And then they would split them open and serve them to everyone. I've been making haggis for years. I love the stuff. And I'm thinking, there could be nothing better. A whole lot of drunk men running around with skirts on and no undies, eating offal and guts. So,
Hoeing into haggis.
Right.
I've never had it, so I would love to share a haggis. Well, I'd like to eat your haggis and see you in a skirt, I've got to say.
Oh, darling, I bet you say that to all the boys.
And so based on that, it's a good segue again for our good friend Sean Dux. He's a ripper, our Shawnee. His question is, what's it like to be a red hot chef? We need more redheads as chefs, don't you think? He's a redhead himself. He's just gorgeous.
Okay. Yeah, I tell you what, for most of my cooking career up until about 20 years ago, most of my hair was in a hat, so you wouldn't have known what colour it was. But you sort of stand out a little bit being, pink-skinned and red. And being in the heat and the steam, you brighten up, so you stand out and everyone's sort of like, what's wrong? Nothing, man, it's just hot, So, I mean, being a redhead, they often say that redheads have fiery tempers. Yeah. And, probably, I do have a little bit of a temper every now and again. I control my temper very, very well. So I use it, in a very controlled manner. So when I lose it, I'm usually sniggering on one side and, paying out on someone on the other. But being a redhead chef, there's not many of us around, especially as good looking as some of the ones that are around at the moment. Yeah.
As Richo.
Yeah, something like that.
Where are we? Sharon Bainbridge has said, what is a nice, easy meal I can introduce to my 20-month-old grandson?
Oh, look.
You've got 3 boys, so you should know.
I've got 3 boys. Can I tell you about my boys? I've been cooking for them. They're lovely, lovely kids. Well, they're not. They're teenage sons, so there's nothing lovely about them. But, when they were growing up, I would cook these lovely things for them. And Michelle, my wife, would say they're not going to eat it. Yes, they will. I'm a chef. They're going to love it. And a constant thing in my family, Dad, that's disgusting. That's terrible. That's the worst meal I've ever had. And it's like, do you know who I am? Do you know? People pay me to cook for them, and you kids won't eat my food. So there's always been this thing with kids and food, and they're funny kids. They're starting to realise now as teenagers when they're eating a lot, and Dad knows how to feed them. So they're starting to change now, but it's been horrible. But little kids, and I'll bring you back to my Italian nonna, who I spent most of my time growing up with. I used to live with her. Oh. I spent most of my time, and if I keep talking about it, I will burst into tears because she's such a beautiful woman, and she was the most amazing cook I know. But to sit on her knee eating freshly made gnocchi you know, with a little spoon. There's pictures of me sitting and she would feed it to me with a little spoon. And was one of the dishes that she would always cook, you know, at Christmas and Easter was gnocchi and pasta, but gnocchi in particular. And it was like, even when I was like 19 years old, you know, if I'd ring up, no, I'm coming around for lunch on Saturday. Okay, I'll make gnocchi for you. You know, it was just one of our things. So for me, if you can make handmade pasta, and it's not hard to do, whether it's ricotta gnocchi, which is just ricotta, parmesan flour, and an egg, mix it around together, and it's the easiest thing to do. I can flick you the recipe, and you guys can show everyone how to make it.
Right.
But if you can make handmade pasta, whether it's, you know, ricotta gnocchi, potato gnocchi, or even just, you know, egg and flour, roll it out, there's something about that I think with little kids and grandparents, it's just something that brings you together, and it'll be something that they'll be talking about when they're, you know, a hell of a lot older than when they were little kids. So it's just especially good. But pasta, to me, handmade pasta, reminds me of sitting on my nonna's knee with her big arms around me, because she was big, you know, big arms around me, giving me cuddles and kisses. That's what it reminds me of.
Grands are the best, aren't they? Grandparents, just awesome, for sure.
I think every time we make pasta, we go, we should do this every time.
Every time. And you don't, you know.
Pasta and noodles. I've been making handmade noodles. My son turned 18 a few weeks ago, and he said to me, Dad, I want your handmade noodles with the chili beef that I do. And I made them real hot too. He was burning for days. But it's just flour, water, put a little bit of sesame oil in it, mix it around, roll it straight out, cut it with plenty of flour, put it on a tray. When you want to cook it, throw it in some boiling water. It's easy to do. Everyone's looking, oh, yeah, Richo, of course it's easy for you. But it is. Grab a rolling pin and roll it out, and once you've made it, you know, twice, 3 times, you're an expert at it, and off you go.
Yeah, and it does. It makes
really
especially if you're making your own sauce and everything, there's something about it. It all comes together, and nothing beats knowing that pasta's handmade, and it hangs onto the sauce better. There's something about it.
This is the thing I've always said, that some of the best food I've always eaten is in people's homes. Whether it's, you know, I've got a mate in India, you know, when I was over there, we'd stay in his place, his parents would cook. You know, my family, you would eat great food. And in restaurants, we try and replicate that feeling and that love and that passion. And, you know, chefs talk about all this stuff. But I'll tell you what, you know, if I had a choice of eating at the best restaurant in the entire world, or eating in my grandmother's kitchen, I would eat in my grandmother's kitchen any day of the week. That's hands down. It would be better than any chef could possibly imagine cooking.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm with you, mate. Because it's made with love, you know, it's just different, isn't it?
Yeah, a couple of grumpy chefs in the back cannot replicate my grandmother, you know, talking to me, watching Days of Her Lives as she's rolling out pasta, you know, and then cooking the sauce with her little apron on, and yelling at my grandfather to go get the herbs from the garden and cut the parsley. There was this thing with my grandparents that, you know, she would make spaghetti if she was using dried spaghetti. My grandfather would not go out and cut the rocket for the salad until she put the pasta in the water, which was like 9 minutes to cook. But they would scream and yell. She would want him to go get it, and that was their thing that they would do. But that's how beautiful. You know, I think of those things, and every time I put pasta in the water, you know, I think of screaming at my grandfather to
Go and get the rocket!
Yeah. Make a cut of fire. Why you not do that, huh? Here we go.
Oh, I love it.
So are you one of the chefs, you hear a lot of chefs who talk about love being a big ingredient?
Oh, yeah, I suppose. I mean, yes, it is. I mean, you've really got to love what you're doing. And, you know, I love food. I love it. You know, I get up in the morning, what's for dinner? You know, what do we have for lunch? I don't want to waste any room in my meal time or space on crappy food. You know, I am so disappointed if I get a crappy meal, even if it's a sandwich. You know, I've trained that there's a people that have a milk bar just up the road here. They make the best chicken sandwich. It took us a while to get them to make it that particular way. But, you know, for me, it's not about wasting. It's about, you know, just having great food all the time and loving food. And if you really enjoy it, if you really enjoy everything on a plate, you know, the customers will feel it. They'll know it. You know, they'll know it. You can very easily spot a chef who's just doing it for a job and popping it on a plate. You see it a mile away, and it insults me. it infuriates me, and they're usually the ones that don't last very long.
Yeah.
For me, it's insulting. If you don't want to do it properly, just go somewhere else.
Yeah,
And the IR laws haven't allowed me to, I can't drag them by the hair and the ankles and drag them out and kick them out the door. But there's other ways of doing it. But really, if you haven't got the passion for it, if you don't really care about what you're doing, go and do something else. Just be a hairdresser. Do something else, but don't cook if you don't want to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, probably the last question, because I think we have to wrap up in an hour. I'm not actually sure. Time has flown. It's 55 minutes. So Jade Fraser has asked, how often do you cook at home? And when you do, who cleans up?
Okay. I cook at home nearly every single night now. During this COVID thing, it's been outstanding. I've put weight on every single one of my family members, and the neighbours. I send food over to the neighbours as well. So
we've done that too.
Yeah, I've been cooking every day, and I'm loving it. It's been fantastic because most of my cooking is in the restaurant. So you're making 30, 40 portions of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, but when you're at home, I'll put the music on. I've got a beautiful garden outside. I'll roast. I'll take hours doing stuff, and I love it. And unfortunately, I sort of over prepare sometimes. So I've got stuff going for for different days, and I love cooking. My wife is actually a chef as well. That's how we met in kitchen. So she's an outstanding cook as well. And when she wants to bake a cake or especially pastry work, she's exceptional. But she's a great home cook as well. For the boys, love her cooking more than they love mine, believe me. Unless Dad starts roasting beef. When I start roasting beef, then they descend on the house. I love cooking. I'm actually almost not looking forward to going back to regular life because I work nights. I won't be home for dinners as much as I am now. So I'm sort of feeling a little bit of pain around that.
Yeah.
But I do like cooking, and the boys.
But who cleans up? Who cleans up?
Well, the 3 teenage boys sort of clean up most of the time. Very badly, though. They're shocking at it. Except for my eldest son, Rexy, who's 18. He's actually spent a bit of, when he wants pocket money, he comes and works in one of my venues as a kitchen hand. So he's great at cleaning up and stuff. And he's always rolling his eyes. Oh, how come I do all the work? And I whisper in his ear, that's because you're my favourite, Rex, But he's great. He sets a good example for the other boys at cleaning up. So I'll usually sit at the counter with a glass of wine and, assist them with, mate, that's not scrubbed. They've got the grease on that. How about if I put that pot in your bed, with all that grease and crud and grime in it and see how, see if you like that. Okay, Dad, I'll wash it again. But they're good, they're good boys. Hopefully, whether they follow their father's footsteps, I hope not. It's a tough job. I wouldn't wish this on anyone and this lifestyle. If they do, there'll be no surprises. They'll know exactly what they're getting into. There'll be definitely no surprises. But, who knows? They might get into it. They might not. But yeah. I'll retire soon. I should retire, shouldn't I? No, I'll keep going for a while.
Not yet, no.
You still love it too much.
We have a personal question for you, obviously because of the direction that we're trying to head. How did you actually break into television all those years ago? Was it by luck or by design? Did you know that that's what you wanted to do?
Look, I'd always been a standout sort of, I've always been like the loudmouth, so I've always sort of stood out a little bit, I suppose, especially in kitchens. In kitchens, you've either got to be loud and boisterous, or you just get pushed aside. So I've always been that way. And when I started La Little Bistro, 22 years ago, it weren't as many restaurants around, and I was a young kid that started my own place. I owned my own restaurant. I didn't have any partners or anything. So I started to get a little bit of media and the newspapers, magazines, that sort of stuff, and then. I started to do a couple of commercials on TV and little bits and pieces. And then a lady called Justine May, who's a talent. She was a front of house manager who had decided to get into being an agent for chefs. So we sort of hooked up, and I think Gary Megan was her first client, and then myself. and then it's gone on to Manu and everyone else. She represents everyone. So if you're a chef and you want an agent, she's the only one to go for. She's lovely. So I started with her, and then shows like Ready Steady Cook came along, and then Boys Weekend, and then Good Chef Bad Chef, and then I produced a show with some other guys called Secret Meat Business, and then Richo's Bar Snacks. So it sort of blossomed from there, and you get just sort of better at presenting, and when it's stuff like live TV, like the morning show, that sort of stuff, often you'll just get a phone call because you don't stuff it up. You know what you're doing, you're professional, and in you go and do it. I think a lot of people, they think it's like fun and games. It's not. It's you're on. And you've got that time, you muck it up and that's it. You'll never work again. This business is unforgiving. And there's been a lot of chefs along the way in commercial kitchens and restaurants and in television that, they're the best today. And then tomorrow they're gone. You never see them again. So you've got to keep your wits about you. You've got to stay smart all the time and be professional every moment. Every person you meet, you've got to be respectful to, professional to, and treat them like you do care about it. Even if they might be a bit of a nonce, they might be silly or they might be acting a bit of a clown. Just be reasonably nice to them. One of the gaffers that I started working with Good Chef Bad Chef, he was just a roustabout he was just fixing stuff and running. He ended up directing the show last year. He's great. Rain is great. But that's stuff you come across. So TV's been great. It's allowed me to travel the world and do lots of things, and I've really, really enjoyed it. But I make no bones about it that at any moment, it can be gone. All of a sudden, chefs are off the menu, and that seems to be happening now. There's a few shows that are getting chopped, and a few people getting chopped. I'm seeing, but after 11 years of Good Chef Bad Chef, I'm still doing it, and I continue to do it. But every time I step into that studio, I am 100% Richo, head in the game, doing my best all the time. And that's just me, but that's the way I've been able to keep myself going. But that's
You're amazing.
I think you've done very well to have the two hats. I've heard Manu talk about it's very hard to be a celebrity as well as a renowned or a respected chef. So to hang on to both of those can be a really tough juggling act.
It is. I also run two businesses. I have two restaurants that I own. I don't have any partners, so there's no one else with money behind it. It's me, and there's nothing else. So I've got two businesses. We also run a catering venue as well. So there's a few things you've got to do, but I think it's got to be people see us on TV and they think, oh, isn't he great? He's such a great cook, and they're having so much fun. There's that much fun. There's that much fun. We really enjoy doing it, but it's a professional business. You have to have your wits about you. There is a lot of competition. Everyone is trying to get on TV. Everyone is trying to cook. Anyone, and that's great because you need a challenge. But by doing it, there's a lot of competition. So you've really got to stand out to be good at it, and to stay good at it, and to stay in the game.
Yeah. And hopefully we've got that little point of difference is what we're hoping for. But, we'll wait and see, Richo.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, with that plane, you put me in a plane, I'll come and cook something with you. I just love planes. I love being around planes. I've been around planes all my life. My father was a pilot.
You can come and fly with me anytime you like.
It's flying on Saturday, but only in a little two-seater. So
what do you like with little planes?
You put me in a plane, I'm happy with two. I spent a lot of my time with my dad in a Cessna 152, which is, I think, just a two-seater. And
I know the 152s. The one I fly is actually a little bit smaller, but quicker, and they're an Australian aircraft. It's a Jabiru.
Oh, Jabiru, yeah, I know Jabiru, yep.
Yeah. I'll come down and pick you up, mate.
Oh, lovely. And if you want to film something, I'll put something on the barbie for you, and we'll have some fun with it. It'll be easy.
Awesome. Sounds
brilliant.
Fantastic. Well, listen, we need to let you go, I guess. I could talk all night because that's what I do.
She's known for being a talker.
Absolutely. And I might just have met my match, I've got to say. But
it's been great talking to you. You've been very informative and very open. It feels great.
Absolutely. Good. And I think all our watchers, as it turns out, by the looks of things, that Instagram at some stage has dropped out. So our Instagrammers are going to have to catch it up on live video. or on video replay, but that's a shame. Thank you, all our fans and everything. Can you please send in your little quick messages to thank Richo for joining us, because it's been absolutely fantastic. Also want to thank Linda, your amazing PA or general manager, because she's amazing as well. I think she's the woman in your life that keeps you under control, I've got to say.
I have many women in my life keeping me under control, I can tell you that. You've got to surround yourself with good people. I am but one of a large team that make it all happen. So there's a lot of great people around me.
It's very true. You're very, very lucky. Here come all the thank you so muches from all our followers. Richo, thank you so much. And look, hopefully, well, we'll definitely catch up, definitely in a plane. We'll do some meet together. And I've got nothing more to say apart from God bless you, pal. You're a bloody ripper. And we'll keep watching you. And hopefully you keep watching us.
I will.
Absolutely. Take
Cheers,
care,
mate. Appreciate it.
Ciao for now.
Hooroo.
All right, guys, thank you so much. I have to seriously apologise to everyone that was on Instagram. I don't know what happened.
Not our fault. Instagram make the rules.
Yeah.
Richo was very easy to talk to.
I was getting lots of messages and I couldn't reply to anyone. And I think the only way to rejoin Instagram was to shut it down. So that was a little bit unfortunate. But we'll save this. We'll save this video and we'll post it. So fantastic. How good was he?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a shame next week to just go back to boring old cooking, I think, after having that.
And God bless him, because I did, when I spoke to Richo, I said, can you give us 15 minutes?
Yeah, we asked for 15. He gave us an hour. He was very open and easy
Absolutely.
to talk to. Very approachable, great bloke.
So you can follow him. He's Chef Adrian Richardson on Facebook and on Instagram. Give him a follow. Maybe send him a message and say thanks. But I think Richo's going to possibly feature in our lives from here on in, and who knows?
What do you mean feature in our lives?
Well, we'll keep in touch with him, and
of course we'll keep in touch with him.
He'll. I've just got a feeling that he might be helpful, maybe for us down the track. So don't know. Great man though, absolutely love him.
I'll definitely take him in a plane and have a beer with him, man. That's for sure.
For sure. So I'll work out what's happened with Instagram, because this could possibly be a good platform to go forward. We're on our little laptop in the kitchen for our cooking in the coming weeks.
All you diehards for us, let us know what you think of the picture and everything like that and the sound.
Yeah.
Because this could be the new way of doing it, because we can read you all right there. We'll come up with a way of setting this up to maybe be the new platform for cooking.
Yep. Thanks everyone that posed questions, because they were absolutely fantastic. And we will look forward to seeing you on Wednesday next week. In the interim, share the love. If we can get more people viewing, that'd be absolutely awesome.
Thank you, Sean. Thanks, Sindra, Matthew, Narelle, and Leslie. You guys just happen to be on the screen there at the moment. But thank you to everyone. Sorry we couldn't read all your questions as you were going, because we were just as enthralled with talking to Richo as you were probably. So
I think everyone kind of understands that, we've had to keep our focus on Richo. But we love all our followers, and
I'm wrapped. I've got an in. I fly planes. I don't know about you.
Yeah.
You just cook food.
He's only going to fly the 2-seater, so I'm out.
Jodie-Anne's not coming. It'll be a boys' weekend in the plane.
Exactly.
I said I'll come and pick him up. I didn't say I'll bring him back here.
Very true. Very true. All right, guys. Take care, and we'll catch you next week. Mwah.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.